All right, so this video is, of course, complaining about Facebook. If you have seen some of my past videos, I've complained about Facebook for a long time. Now, since I've been doing YouTube videos, you might be aware of videos I probably did maybe a year or two ago talking about Facebook and how I don't like it and all of that. It's been at least 2 years because I was in Seattle at the time. But outside of that, I've actually complained about Facebook for at least 5 years. And the reason why I complain about Facebook is because one of my degrees is in IT, okay, computer information systems. And within that, you kind of understand a little bit about uh, the IT world and how things are set up and all of the potential issues that there is a false sense of security that the general public has. Uh, there's just a lot of things that companies will tell you, hey, don't worry, all your information's safe, but everything is able to be hacked. You know, if your computer at home is connected to the internet, even if you're not on it, you can still hack into someone's computer. It happens all the time. I remember back when working for another company, the issue of cloning phones. People were just driving on the interstate and people can clone your phone as you're driving through. Technology is easy to be hacked into. And so a lot of folks were saying, well, if you don't want certain information out there, then don't put it on the internet. And that's true. But again, if your computer is connected to the internet and you have it shut down, you can still technically, someone can hack into that and get that information. Or it's possible to just constantly monitor your computer every time you get on. So you may not even be on the internet, no website or browsers pulled up, and you're just doing your banking or tax information. And again, someone's able to get that if they really wanted to. So when it comes to, and this is why I never understood why people who, again, aren't that informed about it, talk about why would someone go on YouTube and talk about their world, their life. And my question to them, sorry, I moved a bag and there's a lot of lint over here and dust. I apologize. But my question to them was, but you're on Facebook and you're sharing all of your personal information, pictures, photos. You're doing the exact same thing. And you're doing it in a way to where Facebook gets a lot more attention than YouTube does around the world. And so you're basically doing the exact same thing, and you think that you're safe because you only have so many people on your friends list. You have your page set to a certain private setting to where other people can't see certain things, but that's just the basic, right? Anyone can access your information at any point in time. Today, Facebook acknowledged that millions of users' photos were being accessed. So think about that. Somewhere, someone or someone's accessed millions of different users' pictures. Doesn't matter what setting you have it on, doesn't matter anything. That's just to keep the average Joe from accessing your photos. And so not only has Facebook really let people down numerous times in terms of just access and data and information that's been leaked, but they've also created a huge problem when it comes to Russia, when it comes to election stuff. And so I've said this before and people kind of argued with me, but I said that Facebook is way too big. It's way too big. I think that Zuckerberg, he created a great product. Not only was it him, but there was other people. He gets the credit for it. But it's a great product. But you're dealing with someone who is a young person still. He was young when he created it. Kudos to him for being, smart enough to create it, and he did a lot of things that most people can't do. I'll give you that. But I think that age and experience comes into play. And he has absolutely no experience when it comes to running a business. Because when you run a company, it requires a lot of different eyes on various different problems. And yeah, Facebook's huge. We have a Facebook office here in Seattle. Facebook is huge. They're all over the place. And he helped the company grow. There are a lot of people who are behind the scenes making the company move and do what it needs to do. But as the CEO, you pretty much set the tone, and you set you're driving the car, so to speak. And when you have someone, and I think it's ego is a big part of it. When you have someone that young, get that popular, get that wealthy that quick, and other companies are falling by the wayside, MySpace and others, and you're still continuing to build and build and build and build, and then you've reached 1 billion users. That's a huge ego boost. And now they're at what, 2 billion? So it's a huge ego boost. But with that comes a lot of problems. And so to me, I think that Facebook, and again, 5 years ago, I said there should be an alternative to Facebook because of the simple fact that it keeps companies on their toes. When people see that, hey, there's an alternative, companies typically are more on their toes than they were without any sort of real competition. Yeah, there are other sites that you can go to, but they're not nearly as popular as Facebook. And now Zuckerberg's saying to Congress, do whatever you guys want. He encourages other companies to do stuff, but at the same time, same with Amazon. They buy up all their competition. Instagram should have never been bought by Facebook, in my opinion. It should have never been bought. But not only Instagram, other companies Facebook has bought. And so the same thing can happen with those particular companies as well. I mean, they're all under the umbrella of Facebook, but Instagram can be compromised. And so to me, I think that, there should definitely be at least another strong alternative to Facebook. And that's up to some company coming out with a product that's great and that people will go to in masses. I mean, there's others out there. There's Vero, there's Cocoscope. Well, that's more or less in terms of YouTube. There's tons of them, but they're not nearly as popular. And the same thing with Google. Google by far is way too big. YouTube is kind of holding itself together. This is a part of Google. It's kind of holding itself together. And to be honest with you, they gave up G Plus or whatever it was called, Google Plus, because it was going to consider itself to be the alternative to Facebook. But they really didn't invest a whole lot of energy, time, and money into it. And they kind of just let it fizzle out. So they're going to do away with it. But it really and truly stood a chance at competing with Facebook had Google actually focused its attention on it and really and truly advertised the service. Now you're seeing Facebook being advertised because, to be honest with you, there is a segment of the population that doesn't really want to mess with Facebook. Most of the people who are on Facebook in the United States are going to be close to my age and older. There are some younger people, but a lot of younger people are not really on Facebook any longer. They're on things like Instagram and Snapchat and other things. Twitter. They're not really messing with Facebook. I mean, there was a movement of folks that basically left Facebook because of all the problems that the company has, and mainly as a protest to Zuckerberg. But again, going to Instagram doesn't really do anything because it really does. I mean, he's still profiting from it. And this is not about bringing Zuckerberg down or, people trying to be jealous of him or any of that type of thing. There's a certain point in life where things are no longer where people want to achieve it. I think most people would not want to be in the position of Mark Zuckerberg. Even with the billions and billions of dollars that he has, there's a lot of people who don't want to be in that position. They just don't. So it's not from a jealousy standpoint. It's not from being envious. It's not from any of that. It's a matter of basically saying that he has a product that's great, that has evolved over time. The evolution of Facebook is starting to slow down in terms of new features. It has faced a lot of different issues and has basically survived those issues, and that's great. But at the same time, it's really and truly creating a problem for a lot of people. It's hurting a lot of people in many different ways. It's hurting a lot of people. And I don't think that folks understand that. It's not like people, some people put photos out there that show everything. And now someone somewhere has access to all of those photos. Even if you share your photos in one particular group, and I've seen people pretty much naked, it doesn't matter. Just because you show it in one group and you don't show it amongst your friends, which have your mama and your daddy on it, and they don't see it, technically, even though they aren't able to see it because they're not a part of that group, still someone can access that information from that group, even if they're not a part of it, and still have access to it. Everything that you put on Facebook, someone has access to. It doesn't matter. The privacy settings is just garbage. That stops your basic, average, everyday person. And that goes not just for Facebook, that's any company. It's basically garbage. Basically the U.S. government, and I was a contractor at one time with the U.S. government, it still can get hacked. And it happens. So they have some of the best, better than what Facebook has. They have some of the best technology to stop and prevent hacking, and it happens. So my point is that, yeah, I think that this is a problem that's going to always persist. I think that Facebook should definitely consider breaking apart a little bit, offering part of the company for sale. I don't know. And I say this because there are certain areas within Facebook that's really not needed. And I don't know what that would look like. I don't pretend to know. Or they need to come up with a complete division all on its own that is designed to deal with cybersecurity. And yeah, I know that they do have a division that deals with cybersecurity and that they invest in that, but they need to invest heavily into cybersecurity. That would be the only way. Otherwise, Facebook is going to go into the dust pile eventually. Because eventually, and this typically happens with companies, some other company will start up and really become very popular, and they pretty much don't have a whole lot of the same issues that Facebook has. Some of this Facebook could easily fix tomorrow. Easily. But a lot of it is a little bit more complicated and complex, and it takes a lot of people. And that's one of the things Facebook talked about. They need a lot of people to pretty much man the booth, so to speak. Well, why not go to some of these cities that were competing for Amazon and open up a Facebook office? Don't just go to big cities where you have IT talent that's going to just sit there and hack away at code all day. You need to actually have people who have a college education and that may not be the most tech savvy, but they're able to watch your, basically be cyber police. A mixture of people that not only are just people who have their doctorate in, computer science and IoT and all that stuff. Yeah, you need those people, absolutely. You need the engineers. You need all of those folks. But you also need people who obviously have a college education, because I think that's important when you're dealing with anything IT related. But you need people who can also be your cyber police, who can basically look at things that a lot of times your software can't pick up. And right now, the hackers have an advantage over software detection. When you look at viruses, it's the opposite. Now, virus software is so good that it can basically knock out a lot of viruses that come out. So viruses affecting people is not as bad as it used to be. It used to be that there would be viruses that come out and it just would be horrible. Those are still a problem. And those are part of the reason why people are able to hack into things and do a lot of different things, steal information because of viruses. I get that. But it's a lot easier now for sophisticated groups, whether they be countries, whether they be a group of folks that really understand IT very well and code very well, where they can just go in and just get information from a server someplace, because that server is protected but not protected enough. And so that's the problem. So, yeah, I think Facebook is a little too big because they have so many different areas that they have to man and control. It's like having too big of a country. You know, when you have empires that span several different continents, it's really hard to have a military big enough to protect every asset that you have. So it's easy for invaders to come in and attack and take over different portions of your country. And that's Facebook's issue, is that it's gotten way too big, but they really haven't grown their defenses to protect what they have. You let me know what you think. I think that now with me, I've said it before, I don't have a personal Facebook account. I don't. When you go on to Hirsch Noe, our Facebook page, that's a Facebook page that both Noel and I have access to. The Facebook page I do have has basically been deactivated for the past, I don't know, 3-4 years. But I don't have a personal one. You know, the one that I have is strictly business. You'll see sometimes I'll post whatever's going on in the world and, how crazy the world is. You'll see those things. But as far as anything beyond that, I really don't give Facebook much of my attention and time. And I think eventually we'll get rid of Facebook altogether. It's just a lot of issues, a lot of problems that keep cropping up with the company. They will still always have their diehard folks, but I mean, even MySpace has their diehard folks. But still, I think that eventually this is a company that's going to either go down in history as one of the greatest companies that just failed to actually innovate its defenses, or it's going to be a company that continue to rise above the issue and solve their problem. I don't know. I mean, eventually the government's going to weigh in, and that's where the problem comes. Because once the government gets involved, it's a heavy-handed hit. It's not because they don't understand IT the way that Zuckerberg does and his folks. They just don't. They basically feel like policy is the way to correct any sort of issue. And sometimes policies typically are so heavy-handed, it just destroys the industry. So Facebook is creating a problem for a lot of other companies because Congress will basically enact laws and policies and procedures that unless you have a load of cash, you're not going to be able to solve it. So then that knocks out all of these other smaller social media platforms that are trying to get into the market because they don't have that type of capital. They may have $50 million, but they don't have billions of dollars to go and do what they need to do. Right? They don't have the ability to do that. So Facebook creates a problem not only just for you and I, but they create a problem for a whole industry because they are the biggest. They attract the most attention and they've had the most problems. And if they don't solve the issue, then Congress is going to try to solve the issue, and that creates procedures and policies that's just not good really for anybody. I mean, they're trying to protect people, but then they overcorrect things and then it destroys an entire industry. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys are having a great Friday, and until next time, I will see you. Take care.